Hello everyone, I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I have a very quick tutorial today where I teach you how to make this beautiful Mother's Day card using watercolor. Of course, you're going to need your brushes, your paper, a paper towel to blot off your paint, a water receptacle so you can wash off your brushes, and of course, your paint. I'm starting off by mixing a nice lavender color, and I'm going in to make the galaxy in the background. So the colors don't have to be super mixed for this one. I like to kind of dip in one color, dip in another color, and see what happens, and just create these blotches on your paper in a very haphazardly fashion. There doesn't have to be any rhyme or reason to where you're putting your paint, just drop it wherever your heart desires. The colours I am using today are Schmincke colours in the colours ultramarine blue and purple magenta. Of course, you're going to want to let this dry. You can either air dry it or use a hairdryer, which I did, but if you use a hairdryer, you might get some blotchiness like I have up the top there. Now you're going to go in and create your lavender stalks. So these are very, very simple, just a very thin line, and then you're going to create a V or a heart shape along the stem of that, and it's going to create this beautiful little lavender stalk. You're going to want to make sure that these are not super saturated, so don't have heaps of paint loaded into your brush, and make sure it's diluted with a lot of water because these are the background stalks. We're going to go over the top in a minute with some darker, more saturated ones as well. With these, I just kind of put them wherever, again, wherever my heart desires. You don't have to have any rhyme or reason to these. This is a very, very loose style of painting where you can just be free. Just go wherever you feel like you would like to go. Make sure you have some crossing over so it gives a little bit of depth, and yeah, just go for it. You're going to want to make sure that it is completely dry before adding your next layer. So I'm mixing a bit more of a saturated color now in my wells and using the same technique as I did before, but just in a little bit of a bigger format, I suppose, and going over the top of them and creating some more lavender stalks in the foreground. What I like to do is go back and forth between my blue and my pink paints, so it gives a little bit of variation between all of the stalks and little petals that you're putting on. So some of them are going to be more of this deeper purple, some of them are going to have a bit of blue in it, and some of them are going to be somewhere in between. So here you can see it almost blending in together, and I really, really like that effect when that happens after it dries, because it just creates this cool gradient and it doesn't make it one-dimensional. It gives it a lot more depth and dimension. I'm not worrying too much about when these stalks cross over each other. I just kind of keep going with it even though some of them are still wet and will bleed into each other, because again, it still gives that effect of that gradient I was talking about just before. So it's not, I don't really mind too much about it, but if you want things a lot more crisp and a lot less blended with each other, then you can go ahead and dry each stalk before you do the next one. Now you're going to again need to make sure everything is dry before you go in with these leaves. I've chosen a bluish green color, and I'm using my leaf technique here that I have done in a previous video. So if you need a recap of that, I can put a link in above the iCard there. So just following along that brush stroke and dropping in some little extra of that color so it gives it a little bit more of a gradient. You can see here that I didn't quite leave the purple stalks to dry long enough, but I actually don't mind the effect that it gave after I went over it with the green. Now I'm diluting my colors a little bit more with some extra water so I can do the splatter effect and picking up that color with my brush. Then you're going to flick it all over your piece. So I take the paintbrush, I make sure it's got a lot of that paint in it, and I use my finger to just flick it downwards. And I like to use a bit of a bigger and flatter brush for this because it works a little bit better and it holds a lot more of the paint. Again, you're going to need to dilute your paint quite a lot because you're going to need a lot of water to make the splatter effect happen. And don't forget to go back and forth between those two colors so you get a bit of variation in the splatter. Then of course, if you have some nice pretty shiny paint, you can use that to write your mum's name. If not, any paint will do. And I also have done these for my Ko-fi members, so I've added their names on these as well. So it's a cute little card, a cute little tutorial for any birthday or event that's coming up. And I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something new. It is such an easy tutorial, so I hope that you had fun, and I will see you next time. Bye!